This is Remix Report with your hosts, DJ JD and DJ J Spring.
Today's video brought to you by YourDJSkins.com. Pimp your gear today.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Remix Report. I'm DJ JD.
I'm DJ J Spring, and today is a weekend recap where we talk about what we did this past weekend. Hopefully it was eventful.
And all the exciting DJ news from the past week, which there's a little more than we thought when we first looked at things today. So,
anytime deadmau5 opens his mouth, there's always stuff for us to talk about.
and thank God he has done it again.
But first, we'll talk about where we were this weekend. I'll start off this time. I was at Shrine on Friday night, which was a pretty busy night. Shout out to Ryan from Insight Events. Shout out to Shani Ho, who I DJ'd with. And it was actually, Fridays have been picking up lately at Shrine. And it was a good night. A little problem with people partying in the booth, maybe a little bit too much. Had a couple people bump into the turntables.
I heard the music got stopped at least once, right?
Yeah. The music went out the first time. It went out for, I'd say, about 3 seconds. Luckily, the light guy saw what happened. I saw this girl bumped into my booth, and I kind of looked behind me, just like, what the hell's going on? But the light guy caught, shout out to Justin, she just hit the stop button, and he just hit it right back, and it went back to normal after 3 seconds. Also had a kid kind of drag his arm or his shirt, and he turned off the power, like the little knob there. And
That's tough to do, too.
No, you know what? People do that sometimes. Everyone's always has their arm within like a half an inch of the needle or a half inch of that, or they have their elbow near the stop-start button.
But I mean, with the newer techniques, it's more difficult because that power knob is like recessed a little bit. It's not like the old ones where it was like...
He did it quite easily for him.
I mean, that's crazy, though, is what I'm saying. Like,
so it was
that's
like it was during a big build-up, too, and all of a sudden I hear it slowing down. I saw the light went out.
It's building down.
So it started building down. I had to turn it right back on, hit start. So that wasn't like, the music didn't go out, per se, but then I had someone else when I was kind of dragging my hand around the record during the middle of a mix, and I had someone, when I went to put my hand on the record, they were dancing, they hit my hand. And so it made me like speed up the record by accident. It was kind of an amateur night inside the DJ booth. But overall, I think the night was a good night. So it was a success.
So some new rules going to go in effect?
Yeah, I think maybe no one standing on... There's like a step where the DJ is, kind of a smaller step up from the rest of the booth, where I am, where Justin is. Sometimes people like to dance between us, and that doesn't always work out well.
Usually it's very annoying.
Yeah. So that was Friday at Shrine. It went pretty good. Saturday, I was at Russian Lady in Hartford, and that was actually a really busy night. I'm on like the stage. I feel like Tiesto, but that was a pretty packed. And they're about to open a new Russian Lady on the other side of the state, so I'm sure I'll be up there sometime too. So looking forward to it.
That's awesome.
And I was at Shrine on Sunday as well, but that was a little bit slower.
Yeah, I was at Scorpion Bar on Friday while you were over at Shrine, and that was... Yeah, it wasn't the busiest night ever, but definitely still a good time. Then I was at a wedding on Saturday, and I guess we can get into a little discussion a little early based on my wedding on Saturday. So this wedding was for, try and follow me here, my wedding photographer's brother. All right, so the photographer that's going to be shooting my wedding this April, this is a trade I did with her to get some wedding photography, and I did her brother's wedding. So, of course, I met with them ahead of time, like her brother and the bride and everything ahead of time, and talked about music and everything. And they definitely said they wanted some more club-oriented music, some house, and they gave me a short list of songs that they liked and things like that.
We talked about this with Guzzi that time. Didn't he ask you? Didn't he say, like, is this what people usually want at their weddings? And you said this is how it always starts out. Everyone wants it to be clubby, and then you get there and then you realize it's not going to be. But that didn't happen this time.
So, usually I'll play that more clubby stuff towards the end of the night after the older folks have been worn out from dancing all night, and it's usually the young people left on the dance floor at that point. Or I could have worked them in sporadically here and there throughout the night in strategic ways to not kill the vibe in the room. So kind of the flow of the night was I was also doing sound for the ceremony, and I talked to the groom when he was waiting before the ceremony started, and he's like, dude, I want it to be like excess tonight. I want it to be like crazy club house, like really hard stuff. I'm like, okay, you know, said okay, but we'll see what really happens, was what I was thinking. And so we get through the ceremony, through cocktail hour, into the reception, into dinner. Me and my assistant went into another room to eat our dinner because, as a lot of you know, normally the vendors at a wedding don't eat in the same room as everybody else, just for professional reasons, I guess. So we were in another room. I had a playlist going on iTunes with all the dinner music, and my later dinner playlist I had set up to be more energetic, kind of newer stuff, and actually ended with The Way You Make Me Feel, I think, or Want to Be Starting Something,
Yes.
By Michael Jackson. So I came down from eating halfway through the Michael Jackson song, and there was already probably 25 people on the dance floor dancing. And so I started doing my thing, kind of normal wedding mode. Still planning on playing more of the bride and groom's requests later in the night. So we do about 20 minutes of normal wedding, go into the father-daughter dance, and then get out of that, do another 20 minutes or so of normal wedding mode. And then the groom comes up and asks for me to switch everything to house. Basically, pretty much saying, forget the old people. I really don't care. I want to hear hard house right now.
He actually said that, right?
Yeah, he actually did say that.
He wasn't like insinuating that. Like, he actually came out and said, I don't care about the old people. I want to hear what I want to hear.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, a little hesitant, but, you know, I mean, as the wedding DJ at their wedding, normally you listen to the bride and groom. I mean, the weird thing about this is that this wedding photographer that I'm really good friends with is the one that basically is paying for me to be there by doing this deal, photographing my wedding. And obviously I want to really rock her brother's wedding because she's someone I plan to work with a lot in the future and want to make a good impression and all that. So it's kind of like you're torn a little bit as to what you should do, but I ended up doing exactly what he wanted because it is his wedding after all. I mean, you made a good point that you said that, I mean, my wedding photographer gave this as a gift for him to have a DJ that plays what he wants. Yeah. Which is what he got. So
I think you always have to, the bride and groom, I would say, are always pretty much your boss. Even I think when the parents are paying for it, I think they might become the co-boss as well. But I think for the most part, you always have to listen to the bride and groom. And I mean, the DJ is supposed to play what the people paying them want to hear. And sometimes that's like a gift, I guess, that could be transferred.
Yeah. So, needless to say, I went from having pretty much everybody out there on the dance floor to not really having barely anybody out there. Him and a few of his close friends. And we're talking maybe 12 to 15 people.
How many people were at the wedding total?
120 probably.
I mean, this really isn't different than a lot of club situations when the owners want to hear something different than what the people want to hear, and it's tough because, I mean, as DJs we're trained to get things popping and get the most people we can on the dance floor, but obviously we've talked about it so many times, doesn't always work like that.
Yeah, so needless to say, didn't have a whole lot of people dancing for the later part of the night. And him and his friends were out there dancing for a while. I'd say maybe 45 minutes, but then eventually they got tired. They weren't dancing anymore. By that point, the older folks were already over it and like out in the lobby area where cocktail hour was, like drinking and talking away from the music that they didn't understand. And there was pretty much no way to get people back. So
So, needless to say, you probably weren't going to get any referrals from doing this wedding.
Probably not, but
it's a weird feeling. I know from doing Scorpion Bar certain nights, especially when the format was 100% rock. It's a weird feeling at 11 o'clock on a Saturday. Scorpion Bar probably holds about is it 4 or
no,
three?
it's about 300.
I think it's like, let's say 350, I believe. Okay. Saturday nights usually get towards that capacity, and the way it's built, that 350 really fills up the room. And there's nights when I'm playing my rock set at 11 o'clock, and it's just people everywhere at Scorpion Bar, literally except for the dance floor. And they're just kind of all, there's like a, what do you call that, where the dancers are? It's kind of straight ahead after the dance floor, the little catwalk thing.
Yeah.
And people kind of are facing me with their beers on that, kind of looking at me before the dancers get on. So it's just all eyes on me while nobody's dancing at 11 o'clock on a Saturday, and I'm playing music that I know they're not going to dance to. It's not like I'm an idiot. Like, I don't expect them to dance to this. I'm just playing my early rock set. And, I mean, 11 is still relatively early, but with so many people in a club, you know, people are waiting to burst on the dance floor and dance. So I always wonder how many people, what they're thinking when they're looking at me, and how many people, like, take pictures of me while I'm not looking, post it on Twitter, like the worst DJ I've ever heard in my life, who's playing Kid Rock, not even All Summer Long, some other song that I've never heard of in my life, at 11 o'clock at a busy place on a Saturday, no one's dancing. What is this DJ doing? So people don't always know the true story. We talked about that.
Yeah, they really
a while
don't.
ago.
I mean, honestly, I think him and his friends had a great time. I'm not worried about that. Even one of the kids that worked the event as part of the venue, who was in the back most of the time, said I was the best DJ he'd ever heard in his life. But, you know, a lot of people just don't really understand from, I mean, they see things as this DJ played music that I like to hear, but I mean, the whole crowd, the whole wedding wasn't really enjoying it. I mean, a couple people came up and asked me, can you play some stuff that I know? And it's just like,
when are you going to play some good music?
Yeah.
Is that coming up?
And, you know, you have to explain to them that, you know, you're playing what the bride and groom asked for. And the one person who did come up and ask that was very understanding.
I would think,
kind of surprising.
I think they'd be more understanding at a wedding when you tell them that you're playing for the bride and the groom than at a club when you tell them that you're playing for the owner.
Yeah.
That doesn't work as well.
I agree. I mean, towards the end of the night, when everybody really wasn't dancing at that point, I tried to switch back, play some like 90s and some more mainstream wedding kind of stuff, and got a couple people back out there, but it definitely was nothing like a normal wedding I do, or what I know I could do if I had been able to play the music that I had chosen. But
you know what's funny is there's a lot of stupid people out there. There's stupid DJs, and there's also stupid people asking for requests. There's stupid people in every job, every type of person. There's always going to be some people who aren't too bright and are always thinking of themselves. And it kind of sucks when you have someone like that who is in a position of power, or who is your boss for the night, or is a manager at a club. My friend, I won't mention it on here, but one of my friends is going through that. The club that he is doing, I think on Thursday nights, they want all house, and it wasn't working out. And the guy gave him like a list of like literally like 50 or 60 songs he wanted to hear. So it's almost like he wants to be the DJ, or he's that person in the crowd that always asks for annoying requests, except he's the manager of the club, so you kind of have to listen to him. And it kind of sucks when it's like that.
And at the same time, I mean, it is his wedding, you know, he wants it to be the way he wants. He's paying for the rest of the wedding. I mean, why not give him what he wants? I mean, I don't know. It just is frustrating as the DJ being in that situation.
I saw Shawnee Ho wrote on his Facebook that he was going to have like a cowbell sample or something, or a moo, and like press it whenever someone asks for a stupid request.
I heard he was
My
going to
friend,
do that too, yeah. I'm not sure if he did it. But
DJ EL said that I forget what he was going to do, but he said stupid request of the night on his Facebook. Someone asked for the song Principal's Office by Young MC. I don't even know if you remember that song.
No, I never heard it.
Yeah. It's just funny when people ask for these random things, and they always think that because they like it, everyone else is going to like it. They have no idea how selfish a thought that is. I don't know. It's like, you know what else is kind of fun? I always talk about, with my friend Sally Wu, we talk about very serious life issues. And one thing we talked about was with religion. There's people who want religion in schools. That religion always happens to be their religion. It's always the one that they want in the schools. And it's kind of like with requests, like people think like their music is like the keeping it real music that everybody likes. When you ask someone what's like the realest music, it just happens to be their music that they like. So it works the same way. It's kind of funny.
It is interesting that way, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, you get this person who asks for Principal Office by Young MC, which is for those who don't know, it's a really jokey song. It came out around the same time as Bust a Move. I think it was the follow-up to Bust a Move. And it had a video. I actually liked the song back then. I was probably 11 or 12 years old. They played it on MTV.
Perfect song for that age, yeah.
They played it on MTV all the time. So when did the Bust a Move come out? Was that like 88 or 89 or something?
Oh, probably, yeah.
So, I mean, they're asking for this random, obscure single. So this person's obviously
20 years ago.
They're obviously a weirdo thinking that everyone's going to like this. Now imagine that person pays you to DJ their wedding, or imagine they happen to be a manager at a club and they're telling you, that same person who thinks this is a good idea to ask for that song and thinks that everyone's going to like it, now is in charge of what you play. It's got to be a frustrating situation, to say the least.
Yeah, it can be. Definitely.
So, you know what? We want to know what you guys think about this. I'm curious.
I asked you, like, was I in the right or was I
no,
in the wrong?
That's what I was just going to ask everybody is, in this situation where the photographer was paying you pretty much to DJ for someone else, you wanted to know, should you have been more assertive in telling him, no, this is a bad idea, that you should try to play for everybody because you still have some of your relatives here that are a little bit older? Should you have tried to, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the photographer saw me at another wedding, knows kind of what my potential is. Should I have played to that potential because she's the one that I traded with to do this wedding, or should I have listened to the bride and groom who asked for their own music?
No, she was related to
She's the groom's brother, or groom's sister. Sorry.
So I was going to say, it's not like she's never going to hear from anyone else about this. She's probably going to hear from the bride and groom how much they loved you, and then she's going to have to hear from other relatives who are like, yeah, that DJ was really weird playing all this house music. So
I mean, on top of that, before I even started playing, like throughout the entire dinner and everything, I have all these people coming up, oh, you're the famous DJ, you're the DJ everybody's talking about. And I'm just like, great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it.
I prefer when people see me at gigs where I had a really off night, and then they see me again, so they're not expecting very much. And then
that's when you blow them away.
Then not necessarily blow them away, but just do a little bit better. Like, I don't know if I'm capable of blowing away, but just so the ceiling, I keep it try to really low, and then I can only go up from there. That's how I try to do things.
It's one way of doing it.
Yeah.
So definitely would like to hear your guys' opinions on that, because I'm still unsure myself. All right, so let's move on to some DJ news. DJ Mag Top 100 was just released on Saturday.
I was surprised. This seems like a really quiet release to me. Like I never saw anything posted on Facebook. I'm friends with, I think, over 30 million DJs on Facebook, it seems like. And I would have thought I would have seen this, but for some reason I missed it.
Yeah, I really would have thought we would have seen a lot more of this too. But should we list off maybe the top 10 or so?
Yeah,
let people know.
Well, Armin van Buuren went back to number one. I forget what he was last year, but I think Guetta.
He was number 2 last year, I believe.
I think he'd been number one for a few years straight, 2 or 3 years straight, and Guetta was number one last year. Guetta went back down to number 4, so they traded places maybe.
Yeah, Tiesto came in at 2 this year. Avicii climbed way up there to number 3 this year. Big move.
You know what? I wonder the deal with this, because Tiesto, I heard someone say Mobb Deep was like their father's hip hop. It's definitely not true with Tiesto. Tiesto's not like that old or anything. He's still very, very relevant. But I wonder how relevant he is to a lot of these younger kids that are just like the college kids, just getting into house and going to all these raves. I wonder how they view Tiesto, because I would think like Avicii or Deadmau5 is like their Tiesto, I would think.
I think Tiesto's still pretty relevant, though. I mean, he just did that big college tour last year, which was crazy everywhere he went. I mean...
No, but I'm just saying, I mean, I know he's still relevant. When I say relevant, I mean he's still up there with the Aviciis and
but you would
the
think they'd be
Deadmau5's.
more relevant, I guess.
I would just think that they would kind of look at him as equal. Like, someone just getting into house, Avicii gets just as much or more exposure now than Tiesto.
Yeah.
I mean, if you asked a bunch of college kids who they prefer, bingo players or Tiesto, I wonder how close it would be, or even Afrojack or Tiesto. I mean, Tiesto's been big since, for the last...
Late 90s.
Yeah, so, I mean, I wonder what the college ravers think about this.
I do too. So once again, David Guetta, number 4, Deadmau5 at number 5, Hardwell also a pretty big jump up to number 6, Above and Beyond, number 7, Dash Berlin at number 8.
And to be honest,
Who's
I never
Dash
really...
Berlin? I don't know.
I haven't heard of him recently until he did the California Love remix, and I'm sure that's not the reason that he's on this list. So that kind of goes to show that maybe the house scene in Europe is obviously... There's a lot of names over there that I guess haven't transcended over to the States, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. Afrojack, number 9, Skrillex, number 10. A couple other notables, Swedish House Mafia at number 12, Aoki at number 15, Nicky Romero 17, Sander Van Doorn 18, and Alesso number 20.
So Gareth Emery's 14. I remember Superseed
yeah.
was very big on him. Wonder how big a jump that was for him to get up there, because it kind of sounded like he was up and coming.
So that list, the whole list, you can see at djmag.com. Definitely.
It wasn't until 56, I think, was the only guy who actually had DJ in his name.
That is right, yeah. None of the DJs. There was only one in the whole top 100 that had DJ in front of his name. And yeah, he was number 56. I mean, that seems pretty weird in a lot of ways. All right, so let's move on. There was a few big screenshots this week. Screenshot extravaganza. Starting off with, I saw this over at djtechtools.com, a possible Ableton 9 screenshot leak. You can definitely see over there.
Actually, I have a very silly question for everybody. If anyone knows any ways for me to buy Ableton 7, let me know. Because I don't like this other stuff. I want to get back to Ableton 7.
You got to get used to it. That's just the way it is.
Not if I can avoid it.
So, I mean, it's kind of hard to see in these screenshots over here any like real drastic changes. It looks like, as far as organizing your library, like your sound clips and things like that, looks like it might be a little more organized, but it's really hard to tell exactly what that's going to look like. Looks like some bigger view options for EQ curves and other things like that, like being able to see some of those up in the edit window in a larger form. Nothing really too crazy here, but maybe this means that Ableton 9 is right around the corner, which would be very cool. The other big screenshot release this week was from Serato DJ, which we talked about last week. Serato DJ, once again, is replacing Itch and is kind of bringing all the controller software together into one Serato software called Serato DJ. And I'm not actually sure if Serato DJ will be able to work with Serato boxes like normal Serato or not. It'd be kind of cool if some of these features were available, though. Some things you see here in these screenshots, which are over at serato.com/dj/screenshots, you have now 8 cue points per track available, which I would definitely be happy about. I definitely like being able to have this kind of my cue point strategy. And I don't think you have one because you don't use them very often. But my cue point strategy is this. For songs with an intro, I like to put 1 cue point at the beginning of the intro, 1 cue point halfway through the intro, and 1 cue point where the song actually comes in. So usually with a normal 8-bar intro, that's a cue point at measure 1, at the beginning of measure 5, and at the beginning of measure 9. That gives you the option to start mixing at the very, very beginning, and I find myself all the time missing the chance to mix in at the very beginning, so I mix in halfway through the intro, starting at measure 5, and And then I like to have other cue points to either jump through the track, like have a cue point marking each chorus, so you can jump through to like the last chorus instead of playing the first chorus or second chorus, things like that. So having more cue points would be cool for that.
I just think that's really greedy. I just need one. I just need one kind of halfway through the intro, so I can quick mix. That's all I really require. It depends how high maintenance you are, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. You also have the option for 8 loops. And if you look at the screenshot, you can also separate it into 4 cue points or 4 loops together, so you can jump through loops and things like that, it looks like, which brings some more tractor-like functionality. Definitely some interesting things here. So I would say if you're interested in Serato, definitely go take a look. They also have a few, they have screenshots of using 4 decks, since a lot of the new controllers offer 4-deck playback, and a few different views for that than they've had in the past. So some other cool things there. All right, so should we get into deadmau5?
Yeah, what did deadmau5 do this time?
Well, this time he is calling BS on that Forbes rich DJ list that we talked about a month or two back. Basically, he said, well, why don't I quote? How about that?
Okay.
He came in at number 6, was it, right?
I think it was 6.
At saying that he made $11 million last year. He says, if I was making $11 million, do you think I'd be fucking sitting right here, right now? No fucking way. You're putting the whole industry on one article written by one dude who does not have access to any of our accounts. Then he said, the cool thing about it, though, is that it says, invest in this shit because it's hot. To all the idiots with much more money than all of us put together. It's a self-propelling stupidity that it's now influxing big industry money into the previously small EDM market. So he definitely sees the benefit of a list like this into helping promote himself. And
if he was really smart and he saw the benefit, he'd keep his mouth shut.
I think kind of what he's getting at here, which I think we might have touched on when we talked about it, is while the deadmau5 name may have made $11 million last year, Joel Zimmerman himself did not receive that whole $11 million.
Well, he's got to pay the light people. That's probably half.
First, he's got to pay taxes, which is probably like 30 or 40% of that much money. Then you got to pay, your production, which could be another half of that for his tour. You got to pay your agent, your lawyers, your mortgage, all your other bills.
I'll tell you who he's not paying. Publicist. He just says whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah, he has no need for PR people at all. He does all that on his own just fine.
Well, I don't know about just fine, but he does do it on his own.
He creates a buzz. That's what he does. So, I mean, I definitely agree with him there. Obviously, he doesn't have $11 million in his bank account, but I do believe the deadmau5 name probably did make $11 million.
I can see that.
Some more news. Some breakup news. The Crookers are breaking up. I know we all love them from their Day and Night remix and some other cool tracks they came out with.
The song Springer, which is my anthem.
Yes, that one as well. So unfortunately they're breaking up. I guess one of them will continue on under the Crookers name and the other one is going to go in a different direction.
I want to know how that works because it seems like the one who keeps Crookers is going to have a much easier time of getting booked.
I guess that's how much the other guy wanted to change directions.
Maybe they made a deal. I don't know.
Also, over at We All Hit Play, I found this article on Data Life coming out with a new plugin, a follow-up to their Sausage Fattener plugin, which you can get at Data Life's website. Sausage Fattener is basically a compressor limiter that a lot of people have been using in their production. So I guess they're coming out with a new plugin. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be, but look for more to come from them.
All right, so I guess we had some time left over, so there's a few things we wanted to discuss today.
Yeah, let's go into some discussion.
First of all, we've been a little disappointed with some of the remixes that we've been hearing lately. Plenty of them that impress us out there, but there's also some who it kind of amazes us. The first thing I'll say that amazes me is, as someone, I try my hardest to be creative as possible, And I'm always trying to think of new stuff. Sometimes I'm not able to think of anything new to do, and I just kind of don't do anything. But I try. I'm always thinking. The wheels are always turning. I'm trying to think of something no one's thought of before. So when I see somebody kind of just bite someone else's remix, and that goes on a lot, not just the one I saw in particular, but I mean, I'm always hearing stuff on Facebook that this person on SoundCloud just stole someone else's remix flat out. And it just amazes me. Like, I saw something on the remix site the other day, one of the remix sites, where it was just a blatantly taking something that you couldn't have possibly thought of on your own. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically taking two remixes that were done by other people, taking like the beginning of the first one and the end of the second one, putting them together, not even that well, if you really listen to it closely, and then putting it out as your own, not giving those remixers credit at all anywhere. And obviously that leads to people who haven't heard those remixes before thinking that you did all this cool sounding work, which you didn't, and you weren't even that creative in doing this anyway.
That's my biggest problem with bootlegs, I think, in general, is because it's such a loose definition that you don't really know who did what. I mean, I think
you really have to have your ear to the ground to a lot of things to really be able to
I think
the differences.
Proper way, I think, to label a bootleg, I would think, would be all right, let's just name some random songs here. This wouldn't work at all, but I'm just saying. If you had, if you're going to do something, let's say Love Is Gone over Kick Out the Epic Motherfucker, I think the way to do it would be to say Dada Life versus David Guetta dash Love Is Gone J Spring bootleg or something like that. At least, I really think you need to give credit to everyone.
Or even if you don't do it in the title or the artist area, do it in the comments or something like.
And comments is kind of pushed. Not everyone always checks the comments.
I know, but at least it's there. I mean, obviously,
it's obviously better than nothing, but I think you should go above and beyond just kind of sneakily writing it in there.
Yeah, I do too.
Other stuff.
I mean, on that same note, I hate looking at my library and have all these artist sections that are this versus this versus this versus this slash 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 slash. It's like, God,
I understand.
Can't we have a nice looking library, please?
Would you rather have J Spring bootleg and that's it, and it sounds like I just created?
No, I wouldn't. No, yeah. I'd rather see verse slash slash slash, et cetera, featuring. Another
problem we've heard a lot lately is the Spectrum remixes.
Oh God!
I guess, did you say they did something with the acapella? Like,
well, I should have probably listened to the original song before we talked about this. But anyway, the acapella has one beat between the end of the verse, one extra beat, let's say, between the end of the verse and the beginning of the chorus. And I'm not sure if in the original there is an extra beat in there, like maybe a sweep or a drop or something that takes that extra beat up. I'm not really sure. There's a good chance there is. But everybody who's using the Spectrum acapella
and they must
is
be lining
not compensating for this.
They must be lining it up right where the first chorus is and then dragging it backwards in Ableton or something. So the
whole first verse is one beat ahead. It's one beat early.
The first verse doesn't come in on the one there. It's supposed to come in a little bit later.
Actually it's two beats. Sorry, it's two beats.
Okay.
So, yeah, I bet there is a 2-beat drop between the end of the first verse and the chorus. There's like a little filter sweep or something there in the original. They didn't take that out in the acapella, obviously. Why would you need to? People should be able to perceive these things. So, yeah, when then people start the acapella on the first beat,
right on that first
when
beat.
It should start on the third beat. So everything's a whole 2 beats ahead, and there's all these remixes that honestly would sound freaking amazing if they were on beat. Like, they really would. I'm telling you, if you're one of those people who did this and you're seeing this,
fix it,
please, because I really would play it. I really would, because it would be awesome. But it's unplayable in its current form.
And we still do hear a lot of out of key remixes. That doesn't even need to be said. You were saying before.
It doesn't need to be said, because that's always going to happen. I mean, there's a lot of people that aren't musicians that get into music and all this stuff and are having fun, and I mean that's fine. But
we want to spread the word. There's, what do we say? That there's always 3 things that you have to do with a remix. One is you have to match the speeds. If we're talking about a blend, if you're gonna do a blend, match the speeds. 2, find the right part to start it, and 3, make sure it's in key. Those are really the 3 main things you have to do, I think. I mean, obviously there's more to it. Sometimes you rearrange the
But if you don't do those 3 things,
those should be the 3 main things you focus on. Yeah.
Obviously a lot more people are doing much better at this, especially now with a lot of people using mixed in key. But there's a few myths out there with mixed in key, and many of these myths being portrayed in their own about help section, explaining how to use mixed in key when you're DJing. They're saying, if you look at, they have the Camelot key wheel, which I don't personally use, but
it's
a lot of
broken
people
down
do.
into like 5A, 5B.
Yeah, so it has an inner wheel and outer wheel, which is major keys on the outside, minor keys on the inside. And they have the major key on the outside. Let's say 1A is the major key. Then it has the relative minor key, which would be called 1B. Now, that means 1A and 1B technically are playing the same scale. They're playing the same notes equal the scales of the 2 keys. So you should be able to kind of go between 1A and 1B fairly easily. Now, in their About section, they say you could also go, there's 12 total sections. So it goes 1A up to 12A and then circles back around to 1. So 12 is over here on this side of 1 and 2 is on the other side of 1. So they're saying you could go from 1A to either 12A or 2A without any problems, which is completely false. Completely, absolutely, 100% false. They're different keys. They're not going to match if you're playing harmonic content over each other from 1A and harmonic content from 2A over each other. It's going to sound horrible. Even playing songs that are in the same key together isn't necessarily always going to work perfectly because they could be playing different notes at the same time that don't go together. It doesn't mean that they're going to work.
What you've taught me pretty much is there's no rules to a lot of this. Like I think there was some trick that they talk about in one of their tutorials where it says it's like something that's a difference of 4 keys. It was either 4 or 5. Like 4A might go with 8A, and I think maybe there might be certain instances where it does, but it's more of an extreme, and it's definitely far from a rule.
Far from a rule, yes. There are definitely certain circumstances where that may work, but please, just use your ears. Just use them.
I think maybe trying some of these mixes ahead of time may be the best way to go.
Yep. I mean, obviously, when I first started paying attention to mixing stuff in key, specifically, it took a while to really get used to doing that. And I've been doing it for probably 3.5 years now, and it's kind of fluid now. But it took that first year of paying attention to it, really did take a while to kind of get used to it, even being from a musical background. So
let me ask you this, though. Does something that's closer, for instance, 4A and 5A, let's say that 5A is a song you're playing. If you're going to mix in a song that's 4A after versus a song that's 1A after, would the 4A clash less than the 1A?
No, it's not going to be any difference.
Okay.
No. And what they're saying in some of that is that if you go around their little wheel, so you go from 1A, the next song is 2A, then 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, 7A, they're saying you're kind of raising the energy level as your keys are going up. So you're kind of going up the keyboard and kind of raising the energy, almost like changing tempo. If you went from started at 70 at the beginning of the night and ended up at 128 at the end of the night, like you kind of raise the energy like that. But this is the same kind of thing, but the mixing the harmonic information over each other does not match. Well,
if I'm understanding it correctly, I might disagree with you a little bit that it's not that some keys have more energy than others. It's just they're trying to change the vibe of the night. More than it's not like 12A has more energy than 1A.
No, but they're saying since harmonically you're going up the keyboard one song at a time, the perception over that
the vibe,
period of time.
I think vibe might be a better word than energy.
I don't necessarily agree with that, or think anybody is really paying attention that closely over the hour period of time it would take to go over all 12 keys.
But subconsciously, if you played in 8A the whole entire night, would it subconsciously kind of affect the night?
It may. I mean, it may. I mean, if you ask certain people do react to certain keys differently. Like certain people find some keys to be happy keys, sad keys. They do make them feel differently. Different keys, even different major keys, will make you feel different. I know some people, especially who have perfect pitch, things like that, like key information really does affect them a lot. Most people, it's not going to make that big of a difference. But if you do stay in one key all night, I mean, chances are most of your mixes are going to sound pretty good because they're in the same key. And overall, and that may be good.
I don't know. It'd be an interesting experiment to do. Not one that I'd ever want to do, but it'd be interesting.
Overall, I would say the instructions that come with mixed in key are not. I wouldn't follow them.
But everyone should have mixed in key.
Absolutely, it's a wonderful tool. I think probably the best tool besides your actual playback software, whatever that happens to be. Mixed in key is the next most important thing.
You know what? The funniest thing about mixed in tool. The funniest thing about mixed in key is that when I'm going through stuff by key in there, like they organize it so you can look through everything that you've ever analyzed that's in 5A, for example. The funny thing is when you go through that, I'm always finding new ideas of stuff that I can mix together at the club that I wouldn't have thought of before. That I don't ever really think of that stuff, even when I'm looking through just Serato, just in general. I never really get those kind of thoughts. Mixed in key kind of helps give me those thoughts that I could play those two songs back to back.
Absolutely. Yeah, it gives you a whole different outlook on your music library, which is wonderful to come and see it from a different side.
I think mixed in key is especially important with house music.
Yes.
It'd be impossible really to play a good house night if you're not paying attention to the key of your music. I made extra effort. Even having mixed in key, I made an effort building a lot of edits with flat intros so I can play them after whatever, but that only goes so far. Mixed in key is definitely a must-have.
Absolutely.
Not much more to say than that.
No. Do we want to talk a little bit about music organization?
Yeah, I think we should do that. People have been asking us about. That's probably the question we get the most out of anything. And
How do we organize our music?
So
not very well.
Well, I try to organize mine. I'll take this first. I try to organize mine by genre, and I have my hip hop separated into clean and dirty. I don't think most people do that. I think most people probably have just a hip hop crate, but I prefer to have the clean and dirty. It can be a little tricky sometimes because not all songs come out with a clean and a dirty version. And sometimes people will be going through my library and they'll say, hey, I'm in your dirty folder right now. How come you have a clean song in there? And that's just because there was no dirty version. So I just bumped the main version up to my hip hop dirty folder where I usually am.
Do you also put that in the clean folder also?
I don't. I probably should. I've thought about that before. It's probably laziness that stops me from doing that.
And that's definitely a good way to do it, especially if you DJ on radio or do a lot of all age events and club events. Like if you do schools and clubs or radio and clubs, that's definitely a good way to do it.
I recently just separated my house. I took my house music out of my dance and pop folder and just created a new house folder. Because I used to have my Swedish House Mafia, my Dada Life was in the same folder as my Flow Rider and my Pitbull. Because, eventually you have to mix out of one and get to the other. But now I separated the two because usually when I play one house song, I usually have a couple more come in after it. So I just figured I'd stay in that folder. I have a folder for funk, disco, and soul, which used to be called my old people folder, but now I changed the name of that, and that's pretty much...
in case any of those old people see your library in accident.
In case one of them ever asks to get on when I'm DJing, I don't want to offend them. That's where I have a lot of stuff, like all my disco, obviously. That would be a folder I'd be in for if I was doing a wedding. I'd be in that folder a lot. I also have a separate 80s folder. I need to make a 90s folder. 90s is like my one weakness of music, and it's pretty much because I hate it. You know, I've actually...
I don't get
it.
I don't get that. But okay.
Besides a few random circumstances, maybe 2 or 3 times in my life, I've played Shannon Let the Music Play. I've never played any freestyle ever. Wow. I just hate freestyle for some reason. And for some reason, I never really got into 90s music. I love 90s hip hop, but I don't even mention that here because we don't play that in the club for the most part. But other 90s stuff I never really got into. I love 80s stuff. I love Huey Lewis and the News, Outfield, that song Relax, like the typical 80s stuff. I love that stuff. Hungry Like the Wolf, love that stuff. But for some reason, 90s, I never really got into it too much. So I got to make a 90s folder. 80s folder can be a little tricky sometimes because it's obviously a lot of Prince, Michael Jackson, Madonna, but like some of Michael's stuff wasn't all in the 80s. He has some early 90s stuff too. So
and late 70s.
And late 70s, but I think I just throw that all in the 80s. And with if anything's rock, like that just goes into my rock folder. In other words, there's some 80s rock. It's in my rock folder. If there's a house remix of a rock song, it's in my rock folder because that's all the stuff I use at Scorpion Bar. It just makes it easier for me. That's like a personal.
But it's not
reference.
Also in your 80s folder.
No,
it's
it's not. Folder. And it's not also in my my house folder either. It's in my rock. I mean, my organization isn't the best in the way that I organize it by how I remember it. It's not foolproof. So if someone else was going to look at it, it might be tough to find some of the stuff. But it works for me because I have a good idea. I know in my head, house remix of a rock song, I know it's going to be in my rock folder.
And I mean, let me just make that point right here and right now that
yes,
even if you have an 80s folder, that doesn't mean that only 80s songs can be in there. It means when you think 80s, those songs need to be in there. So if there is a late 70s Michael Jackson song, like you said, or an early 90s one, if when you think Michael Jackson, you think 80s, you should probably have it in an 80s folder so that you know where it is.
That kind of reminds me when my mom used to yell at me to clean my room when I was younger. I used to tell her I couldn't clean it because it's perfectly organized. I know, even though it looks like a mess, I just know where everything is. And there was some truth to that. Very little, but there was some.
Absolutely. So when you're playing through the night, you play between folders. So you'll like go into a folder and play off that folder, and then when you want to go to a different song or genre, you'll go to that folder and play off that.
And and I definitely I do need to make a better effort for subfolders. I do want to add some more organization, like especially for rock, for instance. For my opening sets, it's easier if you have those organized. Like if I want to start off with my play some 90s rock, then I like having that folder that has all my Third Eye Blind stuff. Not necessarily Semi-Charmed Kind of Life. That's a song I won't forget. That's always in my 100+ BPM set. But like How's It Gonna Be? That's a song I could easily forget about when I'm in my opening rock set. So I'd probably organize that by opening 70s, opening 80s, opening 90s. As far as dance and pop goes, that's like my main folder these days, where I spend a lot of my time. Like at Shrine, I'm going to be in that dance and pop folder a lot. So I'd want to organize that into opening set as well. I have a new folder where I put brand new music that I play early too. That's like opening, but it's not. I don't look at it the same as stuff like Where My Girl's At by Flow Rider, because I could be playing that in a year still. Whereas some of the new stuff, we're still waiting to see if it's going to be a hit or not. So I keep those two separate. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should. I actually have a folder of my own edits. I actually don't throw those in, which I probably should. I don't throw those into my other folders where they belong. I just have a edit folder of my own stuff, and I know.
See, I know you come from
street DJing.
Street DJing, yes. You come from a background of not using iTunes to organize your music. You have everything in folders.
Well, I did have my iTunes for a while until it messed up and I just gave up on it.
Right. But you've had everything, like each of these crates that you're talking about has been an individual folder on your hard drive that you actually put the physical songs into also.
Yes.
And if I remember right, you just made those into crates inside Serato.
Yes.
Or something.
Correct.
So, and eventually, I think once you start using that a little more, I can see you. Like, that's why each of these songs is really only in one crate, because it's only in one folder on your hard drive. You're not going to copy that song into another folder, have two copies, and waste all the space on your hard drive.
That's true.
And now that you're using the crates in Serato, you can definitely do that. So
yeah, I think that's really the main things of my organization or disorganization.
So how many crates would you say you have right now?
I want to say, I can name them right now. Let's go. Ready?
All right.
Dance and pop, house, hip hop clean, hip hop dirty, funk disco soul, reggaeton, club reggae, rock. Is that it? Did I say 80s already?
Nope.
80s. That's 9.
And your edits folder.
10. That sounds about right.
10 crates.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I have 738 crates.
A lot more genres that I haven't gotten into yet.
Let me say.
Oh, I forgot my R&B crate.
11 crates. All right. Yeah, I have way too many crates.
What are these crates?
Can I just say that? I have way too many crates. I have
Bulgarian reggaeton. How
crazy sub crates. All right. Well, let me just say. Let's start with the wedding section. Why don't we start there?
I forgot my old school crate. I'm sorry.
12 crates. All right. So if we start at the wedding section, I have a wedding dance crate that has a few subfolders in it. It has all the basic wedding dance songs that I play. Has a subfolder that has more adult conservative dance songs. It has like a lot of the older stuff, 50s, 60s, more stuff for that super conservative crowd that you run into every now and then. I also have a wedding rock subcrate under there for all the good rock stuff, and I have a couple history playlists from weddings that I've actually played that had playlists that worked out really well, so I can kind of just go into those really quick if I need to. On top of that, I have a different crate that I've made for each wedding that has the title, the last name of the bride and groom in the main folder, and then it has a few subfolders. That has a specials folder, which is all their special dances, which include grand entrance song, first dance, father-daughter, mother-son dance, cake cutting song, last song of the night, any other like event-specific songs throughout the reception. I have another folder for requests, which are all the other requests that they've made for the wedding. I have, if I'm doing a ceremony, I'll have their ceremony music in a separate crate. And if they have any special cocktail hour music, I'll have that in a different crate.
So you just hoard these things on your laptop?
Well, they're not taking up any space.
I can
you
solve
can
this problem for you if you want.
So I have, under weddings, I have this couple specific crate. Then under sub crates under that are all the individual weddings, and under each of those weddings are up to 4 or 5 sub crates for the different parts of the wedding. So obviously you can minimize all those when you maximize them, and you're like scrolling for days. But if you minimize just that top couple specific crate, they all go away, and it's just one crate.
So I just want to get this straight for a second. You DJ'd our friend Buddy Costa's wedding about, was it 3 or 4 months ago?
Probably 2 months ago.
2 months ago, okay. So that's going to stay on your laptop for like years to come?
Probably, yeah.
A little weird.
Well, some of these I've actually gone back through and looked when I was updating my wedding website. I went back and looked to see what a lot of people had for their first dance songs. I was trying to put together lists of song recommendations for couples that wanted to use me as their wedding DJ. So I was coming up with lists of songs, and those crates came in very handy, being able to see what people had played.
I guess if anyone ever gets divorced and they get remarried, I guess you're kind of already half ready for their next wedding, but it seems a little like hoarding to me.
Yeah, I mean, I probably should trim them down.
I can do it
bit.
for you if you want. I'll
so
be quick.
that's under weddings. I have a for all my club stuff. Well, I have a Scorpion bar crate. Obviously, that's all the rock stuff. I have a subfolder in there that's like all the main stuff that I play the most. Then I have different like 4 or 5 song sets that are in a couple crates, and then I have like 90s rock in a crate, and there's just a ton of crates.
I do want to go to work on my stuff and just make sub crates for just the stuff that, let's be honest, that's what I should call the crate. But let's be honest, this is what you really play.
Yeah.
Out of all those hip hop songs in your hip hop dirty, it's just these 30.
Exactly.
The
let's be honest crate.
We should do that.
I like that. I am thinking about making a crate of because I never make like songs that I listen to when I'm going through music and I actually want to listen to myself later, like songs that I actually would listen to in the car in my free time. I don't have a crate to put any of those in at this point, and I think I'm going to start doing that.
I forgot to mention that I have a dubstep crate, and trap has made its way into the dubstep crate.
Very nice.
I also have a country crate, which I actually just made for a recent wedding. Hopefully I won't ever be in that crate ever again.
So that's 14 crates now.
The country crate should really be called the DJ Skills Country Edit crate. Same thing with if I ever add a freestyle crate, which I've been meaning to do just so I can have just in case someone puts a gun to my head and says play freestyle. That would be the Danny Diggs Edit freestyle crate.
I have a back in the day buffet crate, which is all clean, old school hip hop that I've used for my back in the day buffet radio show. I have mostly when I'm playing at the club, I play off 2 crates, kind of. I have an opening crate that has all opening songs. Obviously, there's a bunch of sub crates under that go into. There's a tech house opening crate, progressive house opening crate, top 40 opening crate, girly song opening crate, 90s R&B opening crate. There's crates for the opening playlists we've made on Remix Report. Then I have like my main club headline playlists.
Shout out to club headliners.
Which I have under there a house crate, a top 40 crate, like open format crate, and a new crate, which I think says new May 2012 right now. That's how long it's been since I've updated the name of the crate. But there's brand new stuff in there. That's kind of as I'm going through my songs to find new stuff that I think I might actually play. I'll put any of that stuff in that new crate. I have a couple history playlists from different nights that I like to playlist, so I can go back and take songs from those if I feel the need to.
I just can't believe you still have the Jonathan Smith wedding of '94. You still have that crate in your.
And the master crate for this whole like club crate. So I have this master crate that is actually called 2011, and then under that is the like primetime playlist, and then opening, and it's really a mess, and that's just the tip of the iceberg for these 738 crates. I have playlists all the way back from some of my first playlists at Shrine. I have those in a review crates folder that has about 50 crates under there.
So, as it turns out with this whole little discussion topic we did,
it all comes down to if you know where it's at, it's in the right place.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is if anybody was asked this question, how do you and JD organize your crates? If you guys were expecting advice, this wasn't as much advice as it was us telling you how we organize our crates.
I have no advice because organizing your crates is a real pain in the ass.
It is, and if you want to do a good job, you have to be on it all the time.
I'm not that organized.
Well, like you said, it just depends on if you know where stuff is. I mean, you want to have it within reason, because you never know when someone else is going to have to play on your laptop, or when you're going to play on someone else's laptop, you would expect kind of some kind of courtesy where you might be able to find some stuff if you were looking for it.
Yeah, I do feel I have my stuff organized enough for like those instances, especially that's kind of where some of the history playlists come in from a night you've actually played.
Yeah.
You can point to one of those and be like, listen, this is from a set I played last month. I'm sure a lot of this stuff will probably work for you if you have to run to the bathroom or something, have someone else play, or run to get someone in at the front door, and whatever. And those are work for that. So I definitely need to do some serious organization, and I've been thinking about it. Been thinking about it pretty much every day for the last 2 years.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
When will it happen?
After your studio's done.
Yeah, after the studio's done. I like that answer. Yeah. Good answer.
I told JD's fiance to keep bugging him and just be a nag, just nag him to get the studio done. Apparently, I didn't even have to say anything because there's been a lot of nagging already going on.
It happens.
Good.
Yeah, it's happened.
Good.
Yeah. I'll vouch for that.
Good.
Not that it shouldn't. It definitely should.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're just over an hour.
Good. We got there.
We did. So, as always, you can get Remix Report as an audio podcast. So you can listen in your car, on your iPod, on your phone, wherever. So definitely support us. Download it that way as well.
Not necessarily that you want to, but it's an option.
But if you'd like to, please do. And if you do, please go give us a 5-star rating on the iTunes store so we can look like a really
please lie.
We can look like a really cool podcast.
Yes.
Because that would be awesome and make us feel really good about ourselves.
I need that right now.
Also, please comment. Let us know what you think about any of the topics we talked about today. You can comment right down there.
Let us know how you organize your library.
Please, yeah. If you have screenshots, maybe we'll post some screenshots of ours just so you can see exactly how horrendous it is. It's really bad.
Yeah.
So screenshots would be awesome too. I'm sure everybody would like to see those. All right. We'll see you next time.
RemixReport.com